In this presentation, you're going to learn some tips about how to manage your time most effectively for contending with online classes. Taking courses online presents a different kind of challenge than do on-campus courses with respect to how you go about managing your time. Here you will learn the types of time requirements that you will typically find with online classes, and also will be warned about some pitfalls that can lead to you falling behind in your online courses. One of the things that students find about online classes is that their day-to-day participation levels vary from those typically found with on courses. And consider a course that you might take on campus in a typical semester. Generally, you'd meet approximately 3 hours a week for a 3-unit course. Add to that another 3 to 6 hours for outside time preparing for exams and writing papers and doing homework, and you have somewhere between 6 and 9 hours that you need to commit to a single on-campus class. As has been noted in other presentations, online classes require just as much time as on-campus classes. The only difference is the type of mode of learning that's involved. Instead of learning from a professor who's standing right in front of you, you're learning online via reading, textbooks, and/or lecture material. So you're expected to spend the same amount of time, somewhere between 6 and perhaps 9 hours per week, for a typical semester length 3-unit online course. However, what you will typically find is that unlike an on-campus course where you'll go to class, let's say 2 days a week for an hour and a half, what you'll probably find with an online course is that your participation is spread out much more widely. So what you might do is you might log on for 20 minutes a day or a half hour 5 or 6 times a week. So the participation level is different. Very often you need to log on daily or at least every other day or so in order to adequately get the information and prepare yourself for doing well in the course. Now, of course, the participation might be you simply sitting back and reading a textbook as opposed to logging online, but you should expect to spend the same amount of time doing work for an online course as you would for an on-campus course. The only real difference here is that you will be spreading it out more for an on-campus course. And of course, this does vary from course to course. A good number of online courses are often offered in a shorter term format, meaning that they might be given over a period of 8 weeks or even 4 weeks. In such instances, that means that you're probably going to be logging on even more frequently. So don't expect to simply log on twice a week like you would showing up at an on-campus course twice a week. Instead, what you'll probably end up doing is spending shorter amounts of time online, but the number of times that you go and log on or you do work for any given online course will increase by the week. One trap that students often fall into when taking online courses has to do with the flexible nature of online learning. When you take a class on campus, you typically have to show up for the lectures once a week for 3 hours or twice a week for an hour and a half or whatever the schedule might be. However, there are no such requirements for online classes. Students just show up when they can based upon their own schedules. This can cause a problem because students don't put in the necessary time to get the information in order to succeed in the class. Remember, you need to substitute those 3 hours of lecture time that you would normally get on campus with getting the information through some other format, typically through reading online lectures or reading the textbook. You need to set aside some time that will allow you to get the information in order to be successful in the course. A good strategy to avoid this pitfall is to actually set a time when you will be doing studying. And this could be a period over a course of several days. You can say I'm going to spend 20 minutes every single day between 5 and 5:20 in the evening, or you can say it's going to be a different time every day, whatever it is that works best for you. Now, you should be realistic when you're setting these goals. If you say to yourself that you're going to spend 5 hours studying on Saturday and 5 hours studying on Sunday, well, chances are that's not going to be very realistic, and you're probably not going to do much studying at all. So you should set a schedule that is going to work according to your specific scheduling needs and what you think is actually possible based upon your ability to commit to this time. A good thing to do would be to schedule some time in the very beginning of the class, see how much material you can get through, and then adjust your study schedule accordingly. Another thing that you should do is you should schedule according to the assignments. So if a test for a set of material is not given for a 2-week period, you might want to spend more time towards the second week studying for the test as opposed to in the first week. So you should base your schedule on the assignments that are given in the syllabus. Human nature is such that people often procrastinate. This seems to be a very typical pattern of human behavior. As you have probably learned through experience, procrastination can cause all kinds of problems in work, in school, and in other areas as well. Whereas people might be able to get by with some level of procrastination in these areas of their lives, procrastination in online classes can be particularly troublesome. Not only do you have to contend with the problems of procrastination in the first place, but procrastination can lead to other problems that are brought about solely by learning in an online environment. What happens if you wait till the last minute to do an assignment for an online class, and all of a sudden the website goes down, or your computer doesn't work, or your internet access is interrupted? You have a problem that goes beyond those experienced from other kinds of procrastination. Instructors are often not very happy when students email them or contact them the day after an assignment is due and say, I had a problem with the computer technology, or whatever the problem might be. A student had been given a week or more to prepare an assignment, and now there is a technical issue that comes up. So the point is that you need to start early on your assignments, because if there is a problem that happens, it can be addressed earlier than later. Another problem relating to this is how instructors will often set up their online courses. In order to allow for a great deal of flexibility, instructors might give an entire week to do an assignment, having the deadline due on a Sunday night, let's say. The reason the instructor does that is not because the instructor wants everybody to log on Sunday night, but instead the instructor does that to allow for the greatest flexibility so that those people who happen to work during the week can do the work on the weekends if necessary. But this creates a problem, because if there is some kind of technical issue that develops, then the instructors are not always around to help solve the problems at 11:30 Sunday night. This means that the problems of procrastination can get compounded when taking online courses. Another problem relating to procrastination in online classes has to do with the immediacy of response time. If a student has a question in an on-campus class, the instructor can immediately answer the question and clear up any uncertainties that the student might have. However, in an online class, the student needs to email the instructor, and then the instructor needs to receive that email and make a response to the students. Many instructors will answer emails relatively quickly, but a student cannot reasonably expect an instructor to answer an email within an hour or two, or even within 12 hours or so. Sometimes it can take a day or more for an instructor to provide a response. Instructors have their own commitments that they need to take care of, and teaching an online class is not a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. So if a student has a question and they wait until the last minute, the chances are that the deadline will already have passed prior to the time that the instructor can get back to the student. This is another reason why you should start early in order to avoid the pitfalls of procrastination. A typical student, if there is such a thing, has many commitments besides the specific online class he or she is taking. The student has other classes, might have to work, and sometimes has requirements such as childcare or taking care of other relatives. Obviously, everybody has this elaborate balancing act between commitments of school, commitments of work, commitments of home life, and other commitments as well. The key is to balance the commitment to the online learning experience with these other obligations as well. And very often it is easier to ignore the online learning obligations because it's not immediately in front of you. There is no need to show up to a class. There's no need to show up to work. There's no need to pick up your children at daycare. So the online class often is the one that's pushed aside first. You should be aware of this problem and make sure that you have enough time to devote to your online classes. Online classes are as important as your other classes as well, and if you don't put the requisite time into the online course, you might not be as successful in the course as you would like to be. Sometimes instructors ask students what they think about the particular online course that's being taught. And in many instances, students will respond that the course is very hard, that it takes a lot of time, and that they have other commitments, such as other classes and work and so on. The implication seems to be that online classes shouldn't require so much time or so much effort. But as you have learned in this presentation and others, online classes require as much time as on-campus classes, and you need to put the time in order to be successful. If you do put in the right amount of time and you don't procrastinate, you should do fine in your online learning experience.